Let's see. I think it's time we can move on from prices. I want to talk about the hardware itself for right now. Maybe especially graphically, but I want to get into some of the more some of the hardware features a little bit later specifically. But if you want to touch on them now, feel free. And it kind of ties into the price as well. But are you
Sure.
content with are you happy with what you've seen of the Switch 2? Like, is it powerful enough? Do you think it is a massive upgrade from the Switch 1? How are we feeling on what we've seen so far of the games running on it, first party and third party, and graphically, hardware wise, whatever it is? Are you happy with the system as it is?
As somebody who plays 60% handheld and 40 TV, I am actually very impressed with Switch 2 because it's a 1080p screen,
Yeah,
420 frames per second on the go. I mean, that's pretty good.
it looks really good. I was actually surprised how good that screen looks in handheld form. Like, it is a notable improvement from the current Switch, both in screen size, but also the resolution. And of
Yeah,
course, it's 120 frame rate screen as well, which is crazy. So, like, that is awesome. So, it's a really good looking screen.
yeah.
Yeah,
What
and
I'm, but I'm
go ahead,
mostly
Don.
like, sorry, but I'm mostly impressed by the overall like design of the system and how it feels. Is just it's just an overall better handheld. Like it feels more solid, like one piece. There's very little flex in there. The sticks are bigger. Like even if I play in tabletop mode with a friend, we have better controllers to play with one another. Like the overall package to play on the go or with a friend on the go is much faster than it was before.
Yeah, and like Don, like you were saying, like you're like 60-40 playing handheld versus TV mode. I might be the same way, maybe like 50-50 because I'm constantly going between the two. And that's all I wanted for the Switch 2 was like a more powerful Switch 1. Because last night I was playing like Overwatch 1 or Overwatch 2 in handheld. I'm like, oh, I just wish this ran a little bit better. And I know the Switch 2
Yeah.
is definitely going to be able to do that. So yeah, just hearing this and hearing your guys' experience with it, I'm like, okay, this is all I really wanted.
It's so funny because talking about ratios, I'm like 100-0 for dock
Yeah.
versus handheld. So I'm raving about the screen, but honestly, it's not gonna affect me at all. Um,
Mhm. I,
and
I will say though, which is sort of a side tangent. I don't think I necessarily miss OLED. I know that's a bit of a weird statement to say. Like, look after looking at the screen and comparing it a little bit and see how the contrast looks, especially on Mario Kart. I
it's
don't
not a big
necessarily
deal.
think I miss OLED.
No,
Like, it is nice. It's a nice to have, but it's not a necessity.
it's definitely. I think it's definitely being overblown. Like, yeah, I mean, I like the deep blacks of the OLED, but some LCD screens are really comparable, and I haven't done a direct comparison with the Switch 2. But nothing I
Sure.
saw there like made me think, oh, this is an LCD screen or an ugly LCD screen or whatever it is. It is a big step up from at least the Switch 1, and very possibly the Switch 2 as well in every respect. But maybe those deep blacks. But maybe even then, I was never even worried, to be honest. I've been playing. Do I have it here? I've been. No, I don't. I've been playing on my. I've been playing on my Analog Pocket. It has actually one of the best screens at that size that you can buy. One of the best LCD screens on the market, or at least when it came out, and it may still be. And I knew from playing that, I'm like, I'm not worried at all. The Switch 2 is anywhere near this, it's going to be fine. And sure enough, it is near it, if not even surpassing it, and it's completely fine. So yeah, it's an overblown issue, not a problem at all. I will say, I think the games are going to benefit the most from the increased hardware power of the Switch 2 are going to be the third-party ones. You're the ones who haven't typically been able
For
to
sure.
optimize as much for Switch 1, or even if they were, there just wasn't the horsepower there to make it work. They were designed with more horsepower in mind. And I think, I will honestly say this, like, I think the game that impressed me the most, and it's one I hadn't even seen that much of, was Cyberpunk. Seeing that
Yeah.
run on Switch 2, and just as, like, something about that scale just blew me away, and seeing that being run pretty well on the Switch 2, don't get me wrong, it wasn't running at 60 frames per second or anything, at least not yet,
No.
but, like, that thoroughly impressed me. I'm like, man, third-party games are going to be killer on this. At the same time, to be completely fully honest, the Switch or the Nintendo games, they didn't blow me away. Like, graphically, they look good, but they look really
Yeah.
good. But they also look really good on Switch 1, I thought. Nintendo games have always looked good, and I didn't see like that massive jump that we have from a lot of Nintendo systems before. Although
Of course.
we didn't see that from Wii U to Switch 1. But I did say in our Mario Kart discussion, I think we're going to be seeing like subtle improvements that are actually pretty meaningful. Like Mario Kart World, it looks really good. It just graphically not a huge jump up from Mario Kart 8, at least at a quick glance. But you're also getting this massive open world, which we haven't had before, and I think that's where we're going to see the bigger enhancements from Nintendo, where they're going to lean more into the gameplay side of things. Donkey Kong Bonanza being, of course, big open world, where we can destroy anything in sight. Like that's where we're going to be seeing the enhancements, like similar visual fidelity maybe, but like you can do a lot more with it. I think it's kind of like what we're seeing from Nintendo. They're really like going balls to the wall with the gameplay enhancements rather than trying to make the graphics look like next gen or something. You know.
To me, it's also like them all going over to an infrastructure, because if you look at developer interviews, they went all full throttle. They went to zero blank and started over. So they made a new system with a different infrastructure altogether. So them adopting this fast to that sort of infrastructure is sort of impressive in a way. But it's like it makes it not graphically not the most impressive, but the actual feature-wise of the gameplay, that's where it sort of shines.
And kind of to that point too, the crazy thing is like the way they're handling the backwards compatibility is like this weird half step that involves some level of emulation as well, which is why some games won't work, unfortunately, or at least won't yet. But yeah, that's to your point, Don. Like the hardware is substantially different to the point that they've had to emulate aspects of the Switch 1 to make it even work at all for backwards compatibility. So yeah, I just found that interesting.
Yeah, it's basically a platform layer.
Good, Don.
So, yeah, as I was saying, it's basically a platform layer. So what you saw also with older PlayStation consoles trying to emulate other systems.
Mm-hmm. Nick, were you saying something?
Oh yeah, so you guys have been pointing about the first party games. I mean, like the Nintendo games have been looking good for years already, and they're not really pushing, I guess, that high fidelity or high frame rate. But the one game that is Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 2, right?
Yes.
Like, do you think we're going to be seeing a lot of other first-party games that are going to have this option? It's like, oh, do you want to play in 4K or do you want to play in 120? Like, you have an option from Nintendo, or is it only going to be like very few games? First-party games, at least.
It depends the kind of scope of game they're making, right? To
Isn't
me,
there...
it's sort of
Isn't there already another first-party game that has an option like that too? I can't remember what it is.
For Switch 2, are you saying?
Yeah, sorry, for Switch 2 that has like that performance. Well, obviously Hyrule Warriors almost certainly will, but I thought there was another. Chat, is there another game? I swear to God, is it Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom or something? Do they have a performance versus quality option, or?
I think they locked into one option only.
Isn't there another game that has 120 frames per second option? Maybe
wasn't there the rumor of a mode in Mario Kart World that was 120?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So if that's right, if Mario Kart World has that option, which I think that is it. That's like a proper first-party Nintendo studio. Like that's a big step. Like they usually don't offer options like that. I think if Mario Kart World is offering that, a Japanese studio from Nintendo, I think that's a good sign of things to come. If you consider that a good sign, that they're going to offer those options in the future as well. For not every game, I think there's going to be big exceptions, but I think we're going to see more of that from Nintendo as well. And that's 2 games now with Metroid Prime 4 as well. So.
Yeah, and like you briefly mentioned, Andre, like Hyrule Warriors, a new one, Age of Imprisonment is probably going to have it because on Switch 1, Fire Emblem Warriors has that option because Fire Emblem Warriors on Switch 1 has performance mode or quality mode, and I'm like, are you kidding me? A game that came out in 2017 for the Switch 1 has an option like this? So yeah, I can definitely see the new Hyrule Warriors game having it.
Real quick, DNA Bro says they thought the rumor was fake. It could be. And if it is fake, then I'm going to take the opposite stance and say, we're not going to see a lot of that from Nintendo, Like, I honestly think Mario Kart World's a good bellwether of what's to come. Because, Nintendo generally doesn't love to provide options of that nature. Like, tinker with how your game performs, Metroid Prime 4 is doing it because they're a Western studio. And also, it makes a lot of sense in that game, too. Which I actually didn't fully appreciate. In the moment, or I did, but I didn't quite understand it. First off, that game looks amazing. I think it actually might be the best looking first party game on Switch 2 so far. It looks so freaking good. It looks like it could be a Switch 2 native game rather than a game that was designed primarily with Switch 1 in mind. But then there's also the fact it uses the mouse support. I don't want to get too much into it, but I want to make it as a whole feature part of the discussion. But it controlled amazing. And I think that's partly because of the 120 frames per second. So because you get that instant responsiveness, which even more so than you get on PC in some case. I mean, not everyone, but I think a lot of people aren't even running their PCs at 120 frames per second, right? So that's an amazing feeling that is going to enhance some games. And actually, Mario Party, I didn't realize this in the moment. The mouse felt good there too, but it didn't feel quite as good as Metroid Prime 4. I'm thinking now that's because it was running at only 60 versus 120. And actually, that might be a perfect segue into something else about the hardware I want to talk about. Being the mouse support, I honestly think this is kind of a game changer. Now, maybe I'm off base because, the thing is, at the event, they were putting so much focus on the mouse controls when it was available. Like, the Mario Party stations all focused on mouse, besides the camera versions as well, of course. Then Metroid Prime 4, having that large desk space, mouse, and the 120 frame rate support, as I mentioned, which makes the mouse feel even better. And man, Metroid Prime 4 with the mouse controls, complete game changer. I don't want to go back. I tried going back, but it's so seamless to switch in that mode. Just pick it up and you're back in normal controls, and they feel fine. But man, after mouse, I can't go back, especially with a leggy gyro, which still feels leggy, by the way. It's like it's a night and day difference. Then even Drag X Drive, showing how you can use the mouse in even more unique ways too, where like using it for that one-to-one motion type control, where like you're playing in this wheelchair-like vehicle, and that felt kind of amazing too, especially with the HD rumble and how it felt like the wheels were actually turning in your hand, and yeah, it was just all really unique. And I think this is kind of like the secret ingredient to the Switch 2 that I think Nintendo hasn't even properly sold themselves, like through the directs yet. Like,
yeah, with mouse controls, I'm gonna immediately put this out there. There are two games that I'm sort of missing with this, which they should have had either free updates or a Switch 2 edition. One is Mario Maker 2.
Yep.
Second is Pikmin.
Yeah, Pikmin seems obvious, especially with it having pointer controls in some previous games. So
yeah.
So is that just telling that we're going to get versions of these games, not Switch 2 editions? It could be Switch 2 editions, but sequels to these games sooner than we expect. Like, are we going to get Pikmin 5 next year, or even like a Mario Maker 3D soon?
Yeah, I mean, don't give me hope.
For which one? For one or both?
For both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, and that's the other thing. Like, you guys talking about the mouse controls, like at the event. It is kind of crazy that there's no like launch game kind of supporting it, right? Like Drag X Drive or Welcome Tour. Drag X Drive, we don't have a release date, but there's nothing really out of the gate that's like, hey, here's the mouse controls, you can play with this, right? Like everything, Mario Kart doesn't have it.
Right.
The Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Switch 2 editions don't have it.
Yeah, it's mostly third-party games that have it, like Civilization and a bunch of others.
Right, the game, yeah, which makes sense that they'd have it there. But yeah, it is actually surprising Nintendo doesn't, beyond Welcome Tour, that they have nothing that supports the mouse for a big game. You would think, that's what shocked me. That's why I was so certain that Metroid Prime 4 would be a launch title, because it seemed like such a great way of showcasing the brand new mouse, which, you know, I predicted would be there, and sure enough it was. And not that was like a huge leap, because it just seemed kind of obvious. But yeah, it actually is surprising, because Nintendo usually has a really good way of showcasing their brand new hardware features at launch, and Welcome Tour is unfortunately the only way they're doing it this time, which kind of sucks. And yeah, Mario Maker 2 in particular, Don, what a huge oversight not to have that as one of the free Switch 2 editions, especially at launch. But they haven't announced it coming at all, which I hope means there's a new one coming in, Nick, as you were saying. But even if not, like, you should add that support anyway. The only game that they've announced support with for, I think, for the mouse support, well, we don't even know if that's it, but I assume would be Game Builder Garage, which
I assume it's a very implemented fix, because obviously it already supported USB mouses.
Right.
So it's just swapping that input with the mouse controls of the Joy-Con.
And that is kind of the funny thing about this, right? The Switch has already been able to support mouse controls. You just plug it in and it could work if a game wanted it. But just no one took advantage of it, because no one, you know, who's going to connect a mouse to their Switch? Not many people in many circumstances.
To be honest, I'm shocked that Mario Maker 2 never had mouse support to begin with, like a USB mouse.
It absolutely should have. I really did not like making stages in that game in handheld form only, because even then it just didn't feel as good. But yeah, having a mouse is kind of a game changer for that reason, because now with everyone having one out of the gate, like your Switch comes with the Joy-Cons, you have that mouse built in. Now there's like that inherent advantage to supporting it right out of the box, because everyone's gonna have one. And that's the thing about this too. It's not just a mouse, it's better than a mouse, because you have all those other things on top of it, which we're already seeing with Mario Party, with how you can take advantage of the other aspects of the Joy-Con as well, like the gyro, with you being able to twist it to aim things, or the HD rumble as well. Yeah,
I am legitimately sort of shocked that there is not something at launch from Nintendo themselves outside of Welcome Tour that uses the mouse. I was almost fully convinced that the secondary game they would have had launch would have used the mouse.
Yeah.
So, staying on with the mouse, like, how much do you think they're pushing onto their first-party developers to keep this intact? Like, do you think we're going to be seeing, like, mouse games specifically using this feature next year? Or is it going to die off within, like, a few years?
Hard to say. I think a lot of games out of the box support mouse because they obviously start development on PC. So I think there's a good contingent of third-party games that will use the mouse features. When it comes to first-party games, that's kind of difficult. They have had a commercial shown in Japan and America where they show the mouse but no game attached to it. They just
So
showed,
funny.
hey, you can use it as a mouse. It's like, yeah, you may want to showcase that with a game.
Yeah. That's why I wonder, like, is there that big game incoming that really takes advantage of the mouse? The thing with the mouse is you can't rely on it entirely. It can't be your only method of input. But the great thing is there are other stand-ins already. You can use gyro control, you can maybe use a right stick for the pointer instead. Like, there's workarounds too. But I really do want Nintendo to lean into it and really showcase more of what you can do with this now.